Hello, I'm Siska Becker, and welcome to World Highlights on TVRI World. In the next 30 minutes, we'll present to you our compilation of the biggest news of the week that have made the headlines. Let's begin with this week's World Highlights. This week, global tensions rise as tariffs take center stage. China calls on the United States to abandon its strategy of maximum pressure, even as it records stronger than expected China's economic growth in the first quarter. Across Europe, leaders voice growing frustration, warning that trust in Washington's trade tactics is fading fast. Meanwhile, Asia feels the ripple effects from shifting supply chains to shaken markets. We bring you the complete stories only on World Highlights.
China's foreign ministry on Wednesday called on the United States to stop exerting maximum pressure if it really wants to solve issues through dialogue. Speaking to reporters at a regular press briefing, Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lin Jian said there were no winners in a tariff or trade war, and the U.S. should engage in talks with China on the basis of equality, mutual respect, and reciprocity. China's deputy director of the National Bureau of Statistics, Sheng Liyun, on Wednesday said that China strongly condemned the United States' tariff barriers and trade practices during a news conference. Such actions harm global economic stability, violate economic principles, and hinder world economic recovery, Sheng added. Sheng also expressed confidence in China's economic resilience and long-term growth prospects, assuring that China remains committed to achieving its development goals and maintaining steady economic progress. French Prime Minister François Bayrou said on Tuesday, warning that France faced a moment of truth in terms of fixing its public finances. He added that in his view, Trump had created a tsunami of destabilization. Bayrou made the comments at a news conference to discuss France's 2026 budget plans. Bayrou also said it was paramount that France sticks to its public deficit reduction target and for it to reach 3% of gross domestic product as planned in 2029. Meanwhile, Polish energy firms should prioritize providing cheap power rather than maximizing profits, Prime Minister Donald Tusk said on Tuesday, amplifying a call for a repolonization of the economy that sent energy stocks tumbling. Warsaw's weak energy index.inner, which contains a number of state-controlled firms, was down around 5.5% at 8:43 GMT, even as the broader market rose. Tusk said last week that the introduction of new tariffs by the United States might reduce the growth rate of the Polish economy by 0.4%. From Mumbai, Indian consumers were forced to trade in their old gold ornaments to afford purchasing new gold jewelry as prices soar amid fluctuating U.S. tariff policies. The precious metal reached a record high prices of $3,245.28 an ounce on Monday. Meanwhile, domestic gold prices are nearing 100,000 Indian rupees per 10 grams, according to a jeweler in Mumbai. Shares mostly fell across markets in Asia during opening trading sessions on Wednesday after U.S. President Donald Trump ordered a probe into potential new tariffs on all U.S. critical minerals imports as further uncertainty loomed. In Tokyo, the Nikkei average futures slipped 0.5% in early trade. Hong Kong's Hang Seng slid 1.6% at opening. In Shanghai, the Chinese blue chip CSI 300 index fell 0.8%, while the Shanghai Composite Index eased 0.6%. Data released by China's National Bureau of Statistics on Wednesday showed its economy grew 5.4% year on year in the first quarter, surpassing estimates. In Seoul, the benchmark Korea Composite Stock Price Index, or KOSPI, opened down 0.21% to 2,472.22 points.
So that's the ongoing impact of U.S. tariffs. We're now going to take a short break, but when we return, we'll have the latest updates on the crisis in Gaza. Welcome back to World Highlights on TVRI World. Now we turn to the escalating humanitarian crisis in Gaza. The Palestinian death toll has now surpassed 51,000, according to local health authorities, as Israel launches new strikes, including one that has reportedly targeted the last fully operational hospital in Gaza City. Amid the devastation, the European Union moves to increase financial support for the Palestinian Authority, while ceasefire talks yield little progress. Around the world, solidarity protests grow louder, from European campuses to the streets of Istanbul, and nations like the Maldives take diplomatic action in response to the unfolding crisis. The global implications of this ongoing conflict are up next.
The death toll of Palestinians in the Gaza Strip had climbed to 51,000 since the outbreak of the latest round of the Israel-Hamas conflict on October 7, 2023, the Gaza-based health authority said on Tuesday. In a press statement, the health authority said that 116,343 others had been wounded in the ongoing Israeli military assaults. Palestinians in Gaza have condemned Israel for repeatedly striking medical facilities in the territory since October 2023, after Al Ahli Arab Hospital, the last fully functional hospital in Gaza City, was forced to shut down as its key infrastructure had been damaged in an Israeli airstrike early on Sunday. The hospital building sustained severe damage in the Israeli airstrike. While local medical and civil defense personnel are working to clear the debris and perform emergency repairs, it remains difficult for the hospital to resume operations in the short term. This marked the third time the hospital has been targeted. In the early weeks of the Israeli military operations, the hospital was hit massively, leading to the death of almost 500 displaced Palestinians. From Luxembourg, the European Union will increase its financial support for the Palestinian Authority with a 3-year package worth around 1.6 billion euros, the EU's top diplomat Kaja Kallas said on Monday. Dubravka Suka, the European Commissioner for the Mediterranean, said the financial support would go hand in hand with reforms of the Palestinian Authority, which has been accused by critics of corruption and bad governance. The Commissioner's remarks came in the aftermath of a first high-level political dialogue between European Union foreign ministers and senior Palestinian officials, including Prime Minister Mohammed Mustafa in Luxembourg on Monday. The Palestinian Authority welcomed the package of grants and loans. Meanwhile, the latest round of talks in the Egyptian capital Cairo to restore the Gaza ceasefire and free Israeli hostages ended with no significant progress, Palestinian and Egyptian sources said on Monday. Hamas issued a statement on Saturday saying that at the invitation of Egypt, they had sent a delegation to Cairo to meet with mediating parties, including Qatar and Egypt, to discuss a ceasefire agreement with Israel. Hamas said on Sunday that they are willing to release more detained Israelis in 2 phases according to the new ceasefire plan. It also said that if Israel agrees, there is a possibility of reaching an agreement. Previously, Hamas had agreed to the latest ceasefire plan proposed by Egypt and Qatar. Meanwhile, Dutch riot police removed pro-Palestinian protesters from the University of Amsterdam's main administrative headquarters. The university said dozens of protesters had entered its headquarters in the center of Amsterdam on Monday morning, where they shut emergency exits, forcing employees to leave. The protesters demanded the university cut all ties with universities in Israel, which they say help Israel's war in Gaza. Police ended the occupation after around 5 hours, arresting an unspecified number of protesters, while others fled the building. Thousands of Turks protested against Israel's recent attacks on Gaza. The protesters marched in Istanbul's Fatih district, waving Palestinian flags and chanting, "Murder Israel, get out of Palestine," among other slogans. The protesters later gathered in Bayazid Square for a rally organized by the IHH humanitarian aid group. Maldives officially banned all Israeli passport holders from entry into the country on Tuesday following the ratification of a law, according to an ex-post from the government of the island nation. The ban is expected to be effective immediately, according to media reports, and the Maldivian government said it reflects their firm stance in response to the continuing atrocities and ongoing acts of genocide committed by Israel against the Palestinian people. The administration of Maldivian President Mohamed Muizzu also shared a statement stating his support for the establishment of an independent and sovereign state of Palestine.
So that's our recap for the conditions in Gaza. The next segment will take us to Asia, but first a short break. World Highlights will be right back. You're still watching World Highlights on TVRI World. This segment of World Highlights turns to key diplomatic engagements making headlines across the globe. In Southeast Asia, Chinese President Xi Jinping is received with full honors at Malaysia's State Palace, underscoring deepening ties between Beijing and Kuala Lumpur. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump holds talks with El Salvador's leader, drawing renewed scrutiny over immigration policies and regional cooperation. These high-level meetings reflect shifting priorities and growing competition for influence on the global stage.
Chinese President Xi Jinping was welcomed at Malaysia's National Palace in Kuala Lumpur on Wednesday by the King of Malaysia, Sultan Ibrahim Sultan Iskandar, and Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim during his state visit to the country. During his 3-day visit, Xi is scheduled to hold a bilateral meeting with Anwar, where they will sign a number of partnership deals between the two countries. Xi's trip to Malaysia is part of his Southeast Asia tour, which will conclude in Cambodia on Friday. The trip comes as China faces an escalating trade war with the US following President Donald Trump's tariffs on the East Asian nation. From Doha, Syria's Ahmed al-Shara arrived on Tuesday to Qatar on his first visit to the country as interim president. Upon his arrival to Hamad International Airport, Qatar's Emir Tamim Al Thani received Shara, and then they headed to Qatar's Amiri Diwan, where they met with officials from both Syria and Qatar. Al Thani was the first Arab leader visiting Syria after the fall of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. Qatar is the biggest supporter of Syria's new government, as it was one of the biggest countries opposing Assad since 2011, when the civil war erupted in Syria. Meanwhile, Kuwait's Emir Sheikh Mashal al-Ahmad al-Sabah received Egypt's President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi on Tuesday at his Bayan Palace in the Bayan area of Kuwait. The two stressed the need for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, an exchange of Israeli hostages and Palestinian prisoners, full access to humanitarian aid, and the start of reconstruction in accordance with the Arab Plan. This is Sisi's second stop in the Gulf tour after having visited Qatar on Monday. From Doha, Qatar's Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani met on Wednesday Lebanese President Joseph Aoun at the Amiri Diwan in Doha. According to a Lebanese presidency statement on X, Al Thani said that Qatar is ready to provide what Lebanon needs in the fields of electricity, energy, as well as the continuous support of the Lebanese army. Lebanon is determined to build its army and extend its control over the whole country to end a cycle of violence, Lebanese President Joseph Aoun said late last month. And President Prabowo Subianto departed for the United Arab Emirates on Wednesday to start state visits to 5 Middle Eastern countries such as the UAE, Turkey, Egypt, Qatar, and Jordan. In Abu Dhabi, President Prabowo was scheduled to have a bilateral meeting with UAE President Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan. From Abu Dhabi, the president slated to make a return visit to President of Turkey Recep Tayyip Erdogan. In addition, President Prabowo was scheduled to attend the Antalya Diplomacy Forum as a speaker during the leaders' talk session. With limited delegates, the president continued his trip to Cairo to have a consultation with Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. Afterwards, President Prabowo visited Doha, Qatar to meet the Emir of Qatar, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani. President Prabowo concluded the Shira visit by visiting Jordan.
Next up on World Highlights, we have the recap of the celebration for Easter week right here on World Highlights. But first, a short break. We'll be right back. Thank you for staying with us right here on TVRI World for World Highlights. For this last segment, we turn to traditions, faith, and celebration from around the globe. In El Salvador, Holy Week kicks off with a fiery local ritual, while across Europe, Easter takes on creative and colorful forms, from intricately decorated eggs in Bosnia to chocolate artistry in Belgium, from Palm Sunday processions in Poland and Iraq to curious meerkats enjoying an egg hunt in a German zoo. The season is marked by joy, reflection, and enduring cultural traditions. Let's take a closer look.
Thousands of Jewish worshippers prayed at the Western Wall on Tuesday in a special mass priestly blessing, which takes place during the holiday of Passover. Israeli National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir participated in the annual prayer. The annual event was held today as the faithful prayed for the Israeli hostages to be released from Gaza. The ceremony is held twice a year during the Jewish holidays of Passover and Sukkot. In Brussels, 35 top Belgian chocolatiers exhibited a collection of Easter creations inspired by Art Deco with pieces from architectural reproductions, top laser animated eggs on display. The 50-60 centimeter tall eggs, all edible, were exposed on plinths worthy of an art museum in a chic Brussels hotel, where members of the public could come and meet the chefs. The confectioners themed their creations around the Art Deco movement, a style that blends nature, curves, and industrial materials widely prominent in Belgian capital, to mark a century since its founding by architect Victor Horta. The exhibition runs through Easter until April the 21st. Meanwhile, in the small Bosnian town of Kreševo, a unique Easter tradition continues to thrive. Mateo Ifišević, the youngest blacksmith in the area, practices the art of egg shoeing, a custom passed down through generations. This intricate craft involves attaching miniature horseshoes to eggshells, creating distinctive decorative pieces. Ifišević, who learned the skill from his father and grandfather, takes pride in preserving this local tradition. The practice has deep roots in Kreševo's history. Centuries ago, when Saxons developed mining and blacksmithing in Bosnia's Kreševo, the ability to shoe an egg was regarded as the sign an apprentice was ready to leave and start his own business and family. Meanwhile, Iraqis in Mosul celebrated Palm Sunday with a mass attended by hundreds of people. A procession marched through the street carrying palm tree leaves and waving flags. Palm Sunday commemorates the day the Gospels say Jesus rode into Jerusalem and was held by the people, only to be crucified 5 days later. Palm Sunday is followed by Good Friday and then Easter, the most important day on the Christian liturgical calendar. The Holy Week, which begins on Palm Sunday and ends on Easter Sunday, marks the last week of Lent. From Germany, very few humans would be delighted to find worms inside their Easter eggs. Meerkats, however, could not be more happy about this treat, as proven by the meerkats at the Gelsenkirchen Zoo on Tuesday, and their eager hunt for more mealworms inside their Easter eggs. Too eager at times, maybe, as some of the meerkats got their heads stuck inside the colorful eggs as they were searching for their treats. So while the eggs and their fillings might not be very appealing for humans, the meerkats could not be happier with their successful egg hunt. A hunt during which children are sent on a quest to find hidden Easter eggs is a common tradition on Easter Sunday in Germany.
And our highlight for Easter celebration from all around the world wraps up this week's edition of World Highlight. Thank you for tuning in as we took you around the world, and we'll be back next week with more stories that matter. Until then, take care and have a great week.